the Wingate power test and data analysis. Sometimes we call the Wingate anaerobic capacity test or Wingate anaerobic power test. Dr. Gun has created virtual laboratories of exercise physiology and human performance since 2015, and I am very glad to share my virtual laboratory with you. Comparing two police officers, this police officer has trained anaerobically, but this police officer is not trained at all and even not healthy. As you see, both officers do not have time to do warm-up, right? So to catch this suspected person, their energy system is dependent mainly phosphagen system and glycolytic energy system, or sometimes we call anaerobic capacity. So it seems police officers need anaerobic capacity. To improve anaerobic capacity, we need a certain test to figure out person's anaerobic capacity. Is it right? She is Diana Hernandez, an alumnus of Department of Kinesiology and HSU. She is right now an assistant coach in sports performance at Arizona State University. She took this exercise physics course, I think, in 2014. And I helped her training also. Because she was powerlifter, so her sports even usually take only 5 to 10 seconds. Only 5 to 10 seconds. So I can say she is really phosphagen energy system person, right? She had trained her phosphagen system maximally. This is the chart, the official nomination for 2017 International Powerlifting Federation raw world record. As you see, she was the top at 72 kilogram class. So 170 kilogram squat, so 75 pounds squat 1 RM. So 1 RM means in 1 repetition maximum. So her squat 1 RM is 375 pounds and her body weight is 72 kilogram. Is around 160 pounds. Let's watch together is Diana's maximum squat strength test.
Let's go! Let's get it, D! Let's get it! Let's go!
Take your time, D.
Let's go! Come on!
Get set up, D. Big fucking chest on the way up, D. Let's go!
Why is impressive, is right? So I think she sent this file to me 2014. So at that time, her record was 365 pounds. Even this is not her PR. It's very impressive. So I can say she's really phosphagen system person. Really developed phosphagen system. It looks like it take around 5 to 10 seconds, right? So she can maximize resynthesize ATP at very fast rate, but 5 to 10 seconds. I believe you are excited to see her Wingate test performance. So does it make sense? Yeah. She's American powerlifter at the national level. Let's see her Wingate test. Let's watch her Wingate test performance. But I believe you can guess is right. Maybe she can increase like speed around 5 to 10 seconds. But after 5 to 10 seconds, her fatigue occurs very quickly. So she will be not really good after 10 seconds. Yeah, doesn't make sense. How about let's see.
Okay, so whenever you're ready.
Very impressive. Right now 10 seconds. See, it's fatigue occur. Really slow, really slow. Wow, that's slow. Very impressive, but fatigue occur very fast, is right? Wow.
Very good. But English.
So we saw Diana's performance, and just watching is not our job. We need to analyze data, is right? But before analyzing data, right, we need to calculate. We can get a like a power, right? Other things, right? So how about manually? How to calculate is a power? First, you need RPM, repetition per minute, repetition per minute. For uh, to do this one, right, manually, not from the equipment. So we need count repetition per 5 seconds, for 5 seconds, but the velocity unit here is RPM, repetition per minute. So you can count 5 seconds and multiply 12 because minute, right? So that is our RPM. It doesn't make sense. And using this RPM, we can calculate using her resistance. Her resistance is a woman's case 7.5% of body mass. So her case, she was 70 kilogram. So 7.5% of 70 kilogram is 5.3 kilogram. Is right. So 5.3 kilogram multiply RPM multiply 6 and divided by 6.118. I think you know how to calculate it, right? Through our quiz question. And we can calculate power. So how about let's see. So at this time, please watch her performance. Do not just watch like that dramatic scene. Please watch her foot. So we can count her repetition per 5 seconds. For example, like this. And please see, this is timer 2. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, 12. Ooh, I couldn't make it. How about 20 seconds? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And how about next 10-second one? 10 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Okay. So we count her repetition per 5 seconds. So 0 to 5 seconds, she did 12 repetition. But we need RPM, repetition per minute. So to convert repetition per minute from repetition per 5 seconds, we should multiply 12. Does it make sense? So 12 multiplied 12 is 144. So 0 to 5 seconds, her RPM is 144. To calculate power, the watt, we need her resistance. Resistance is 5.3 kilogram because 7.5% of female subject body mass. Doesn't make sense. So 5.3 multiply 144 multiply 6 divided by 6.118. That is her power. Unit is watt. Is 748.5 watt. And 10 to 15 seconds, I counted 7 is right. But we need RPM. To convert RPM, we need to multiply 12. So 7 multiplied 12 is 84 is right. And to calculate power, 5.3 multiply 84 multiply 6 divided by 6.118. That is 436.6 watt. Does it make sense? And how about 20 to 25 seconds? She did 4 repetitions per 5 seconds. So to calculate RPM, we must multiply 12 is right. So 48 RPM. To calculate power, 5.3 multiply 48 is right. 12, yeah, 48 multiply 6 divided by 6.118, that is 249.5 watt. Because I didn't have a time to count 5 to 10 seconds, 15 to 20 seconds, 25 seconds to 30 seconds. But if I have another person, this person can count 5 to 10 seconds on, so we can have 6 power data, right? 6 RPM data and power production is right. This is how to calculate power is manually. And this is real data from Wingate test software. Wingate test software, so it can detect the RPM is every second. So how about this is time, 30 seconds is right. And at 5 seconds, revolution is 144. Wow, Dr. Gon did a good job, is right. Our revolution, just using my human eye, is 144. So it's perfect. But how about 15 seconds? I did 84, but actually our machine is detect 62. So I think I overestimated, right? I think my count was not really correct. And at 25 seconds, is a machine detect 42 RPM, but I did counted and calculated 48 is right. So I think I'm a little bit overestimate. So except for at 5 seconds, other one I'm not really correct. Correct is right. So this machine showed every second data. It looks great, and we can calculate power to is right. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Yeah. And however, for your lab report, you need 6 data at 5 seconds, at 10 seconds, at 15, at 20, at 25, at 30. So for your lab report, actually Diana is our subject 1. You need this number. 144 is here is right. 118 at 10 second 1, 62 at 15 second, 41 at 20 second, 42 at 25 second, 39 at 30 second. Right. See, you need this number. As well as you need her body, the resistance is right. So based on her body mass, 5.3 kilogram is her resistance. So you know RPM and you know the resistance, you can calculate power output. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? From the data, Wingate software, so I can draw graph like this. I can create graph like this. So y-axis is the RPM and x-axis is time. So for 30 seconds is Diana's performance graph look like this, right? So around 4 to 5 seconds, she increased RPM is really hard, but she can decrease even after 4 to 5 seconds because she's like a power lifter, right? And decrease, and around 10 seconds is a really decrease. Doesn't make sense because she has trained for fast Fagan system for a long time, very hard. So this is why her performance is 5 to 10 seconds. It actually is 5 seconds, is right. 5 to 6 seconds is really good, but after 6 seconds, after 10 seconds, it really decrease her performance. Doesn't make sense. Do you think it's good or bad? So actually, she's a power lifter, so her graph supposed to like this. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. And next graph is just I change y-axis is power, is right. But as you see, this power graph and RPM is very similar, is right, because power is dependent on RPM, repetition per minute. Right? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. And another one. How about this one? Did you remember I said the Diana's, right? Her performance, no, is her trained for fast Fagan system. So this graph is fast Fagan system. So her graph should be, look like this fast Fagan system is right. Do you think it's similar, this fast Fagan system graph from our textbook? And how about this one? This graph is similar, It doesn't look like similar, but please see its x-axis. This is 10 to 30 seconds, right? And this is 10 to 30 seconds. So this is why it looks a little bit different. But how about if I touch a little bit? So 10 to 30 seconds is right. I want to put 10 to 30 seconds like this range, this amount. Let's see. Wow, see, I just make this x-axis like this length. This length is look perfect Volkswagen system is right. So this is why I said, wow, Diana, right? Volkswagen system look like this. So first, it's very fast, but decrease a lot, but it's totally okay for powerlifter. Doesn't make sense. If marathoner is look like this, that is a big problem. But she's powerlifter, so graph supposed to be like this. It doesn't make sense. Wow, how impressive! How impressive! Using the data, we can draw Volkswagen system graph. Wow, it's impressive, is right? So this is one of the example of my virtual lab. You already watch is a powerlifter, is right? And at this time, we have a football player. So can you guess his performance? He's a football player. Maybe similar, like was similar with Diana, powerlifter, but not that much is right. And another one, her body mass, I'm sorry, his body mass is, I don't know, but if you see, his bracket weight is 9.2 kilogram. How can we know his body mass? For male subject, 8.5% of body mass is 9.2 is right. See, this is how we can figure out his body mass. Reach 110 RPM, right? Basket release is increase. Wow, it's good. Oh, it's a little bit longer than the Diana. But after 10 seconds, it's decreases, right? After 11 to 12 seconds, decrease. It's very high number and decrease. So this is his performance, and if you see, they're here. It's RPM. 0 to 5 second, 142. 5 to 10 second, 142. Is right, that's right. This is from the equipment. At that time, I was lucky because I have a triathlete too. So I have powerlifter, football player, triathlete. So using graph, we can figure out this, right? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Their characteristic, their attribute, right? So triathlete. Yes. So basket decrease and see is RPM is around 120, not that high, not that high. But how about see the graph? Wow, it's plateau, right? Wow, a little bit decrease, but it look like very flat. Is plateau is right, flat, steady state. Right? A little bit decrease, but still is much better than powerlifter and football player, right? Yes. So it's like this, right? So we can see data 2, right? So it's like this, right? RPM is not that high, but not really decrease that much. Okay, next one is we can compare triathlete and football player. Triathlete versus football player. So football player is here. Triathlete is here. They start together. This is baseline. See, is a football player is a high peak power, and fatigue occurs. Triathlete is not high peak power, but see, there are no fatigue. Right? Yeah. So fatigue occurs, but still okay. Resistance to fatigue, fatigue resistible. Yeah. Ooh. So it's really good idea, is right? Using virtual lab, we can see both athletes at the same time. Next one, I'll explain you how to complete your lab 1. So this document is from our module on our Canvas website. Is right. So if you click KINS 379 Lab 1 Virtual Lab, this documentation, so you can see this one is right. So first, introduction part. So you should begin with the introduction. Yeah, there are 6 points, but 2 points about it's simple. So you watch 3 people's performances, right? Diana, powerlifter, and Scott, football player, and Jack, and triathlete. So you watch 3 times this performance in this virtual lab. Please express using your own word. How was your feeling? It was interesting. It was like very dramatic. You didn't really expect like that kind of description. You need at least 5 sentences and it will be 2 points. So does it make sense? Do not have any burden, just your feeling. How about like 3 people's performance today? It was interesting. It was really give some view or idea for you, like what is anaerobic test? Right? Doesn't make sense. That I needed that like around 5 sentences, 1 paragraph. You just start this introduction. And second part of introduction, right? You need to write like this. First, you should mention the length of the test. Please watch here. This is important. You need at least 3 sentences. And next, you should mention energy system involved during Wingate test. 5 sentences, 1 point. And you should mention muscle fibers being recruited, at least 3 sentences, 1 point. And performance application of this Wingate test, at least 5 sentences is 1 point. But you know, if this is first time to write your like science lab report in our kinesiology major, so I would write help you. So this one, I do not need help is right because this is just your observation is right. But this one, I help you. First, length of a test. So length of a test, Wingate, if you go back to this one, you can see I talk about length of the test, right? And I simply say like this. Wingate test, we just watch it, is 30 seconds. But 30 seconds is, to tell the truth, too short for anaerobic capacity. Anaerobic capacity is kind of glycolytic energy system. It usually 30 seconds to 1 minute, 30 seconds or 2 minutes. So longer test is better. But most of university, include our university, we use Wingate 30 second one. So you can mention Wingate test 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 2 minutes is right. But however, our lab, you observe, is a 30-second Wingate test. Like this kind of approach is totally okay to me. Doesn't make sense? Yeah, Wingate test is not only 30 seconds. There are 30 second, 40 second, and 2 minute Wingate test. And next one, I ask energy system involved is right. Energy system. So can you guess which energy system we really used for Wingate test? So maybe if you think, oh, Wingate test is only for Volkswagen system, that is not correct. Because Volkswagen system, as you see, this Volkswagen system, did you remember, is what is this? Diana's performance after 5 to 6 seconds really decreases, right? Doesn't make sense. So it means we need another energy system, is right? So 5 to 6 seconds, we need another energy system. That is glycolytic energy system. Doesn't make sense. Especially pyruvate become lactate, is right? So lactate formation is important. So if you see, it's like this. So phosphagen and lactate formation, right, include both of them, is around 65% energy for Wingate test. But however, still around 35% is mitochondrial respiration. It doesn't make sense. So it's mean, it's look like we just use phosphagen system, maybe glycolytic energy system, but actually, no, we need all energy system. But distribution is more phosphagen and glycolytic, so like a lactate formation, but still we need the mitochondrial response system. So answer is all 3 energy system. Doesn't make sense. Yeah, you need mention is like this. So how about go back? So length of a test, did you remember I said not only 30 seconds, but also 40 seconds and 2 minutes, right? But you need at least 3 sentences. You should write your own word, right? This one, your own word. And 2 energy system in verb. First, I think, based on your observation, only fast-Fagan system, but right now you change mind is right. So based on this graph, oh no, Wingate test is look like very sprint style exercise, but still we need all 3 energy system, phosphagen and glycolytic and mitochondrial response energy system. Doesn't make sense. If you want to write more, we can talk about this distribution too, but you need at least just 5 sentences. Doesn't make sense? Doesn't make sense. And how about go back to my question is, and where is it? Muscle fiber being recruited. Yeah, you need at least 3 sentences. You can at least, right? You can write more. So how about class? Muscle fiber being recruited. I learned from biology class there are slow twitch, fast twitch. But this is a very powerful exercise. So I think fast twitch, right? Does it make sense? Does it make sense? So, but to answer this one, I want to show some diagram too, right? Figure, right? There are size principle, and this is exercise physiology class. So you had better call type 1, type 2A, type 2BX instead of slow twitch, fast twitch. You can say that, but this is much better. Type 1 is kind of a slow twitch. It can recruit even very low exercise intensity, it recruited. But if you increase exercise intensity, type 2A is recruited. However, type 1 is always recruited. If we increase exercise intensity even more, type 2BX is activated with help type 1 and type 2A. So it sounds like Wingate test, high exercise intensity exercise include all 3 motor unit type. Doesn't make sense? Doesn't make sense? So if you exercise low intensity exercise, you can recruit only type 1 or type 2A, but you do not have any opportunity to recruit type 2BX because this motor unit is recruited dependent on exercise intensity, right? Doesn't make sense? Doesn't make sense. So Wingate test, recruit which kind of motor unit? Answer is type 1, type 2A, type 2BX. Doesn't make sense? Doesn't make sense. And you will learn this size principle is very well is after exam 1. So maybe next week. So go back to our question. Next one is performance application of test. You need at least 5 sentences. So for example, how about this one? If you read here, yeah, it is common, is right. So I just copy and paste it here. So that this paragraph is include practical aspect. So anything is right, yeah. So it's here. How about like here? The Wingate test is also used to assess training improvement by athlete, where altered training program for the development of power can be assessed pre or post training, or to document improvement after recovery from injury, like this kind of thing. So please read this part, or it's same with this documentation. Please read and please using your own word talk about performance aspect, performance application of a test. You need at least 5 sentences. Class, does it make sense? So this is your introduction part. Next is the method section is 3 point. You must describe in detail but use past tense, using your own word but past tense. Is okay, is okay. So how about like equipment? But you know, this is kind of, if we have face-to-face class, it's much easier to write, but you need use a video and you watch the equipment is right. Which one? Actually, we have like a timer and Wingate bike is right. And procedure, you already see is right. Like this So when is a pedal as fast as they can to reach 110 RPM, fast get released. Before this one, they must calculate their resistance based on males 8.5%, female is 7.5% of their body mass, is right? Put the weight, right? Like that kind of thing. And all exercise for 30 seconds. Doesn't make sense? Like that kind of thing. And you should explain, you should mention the how to calculate work and power, is right? So this kind of information and go back to again, right? So this paper has all of them. But you can use the information from this paper, right? But using your own word. Doesn't make sense. Don't just copy, right? Don't do that, right? I think it makes sense, is right? So you can write method section. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Yeah, this is kind of requirement. And you should develop this table, right? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. You should develop this table, right? So virtual subject and ACE training, they do, right? This one is right. Virtual subject and ACE. But actually this data is in our Lab 1 module. So you can get information from there. If you go to our Canvas website, Lab 1 module, there are Wingate virtual lab test data, right? So you can write down here. So I already did virtual lab. And another one, you do not need to count their number. I already put here. This is from the Wingate muscular power test software. Right? Yeah. So you need this data, and you can fill in this table. Does it make sense? Yeah. I think I already filled for you, but you should calculate peak power and relative power and percent decrement. Okay, okay. And to tell the truth, your quiz, right? Your lab 1 quiz, I think you already calculated. So I think you are already familiar with. So it's good for you to practice again, right? Doesn't make sense. You already did. You already did. So I think you already have a number. So for example, can you guess Diana's peak power? You know it's right now how to calculate peak power. The resistance multiply RPM is right. What is highest RPM for Diana? Could you check it here? Which one? At 5 seconds 140 is right because she is a power lifter, is right. She's power lifter. So 5.3 140 multiply 6 divided by 6.118, that is peak power, is right. And relative peak power, actually this is relative peak power. Relative peak power means divided by peak power divided by her body mass, 70 kilogram. That is relative peak power. And percent decrement, you know, is right. Highest peak power minus lowest power divided by highest peak power multiply 100. I just simply explain here, but I believe you already experienced, you already practiced, and I'll show you again is the ending of this lecture. And next one, Scott, football player, is right. So it's peak power, right? His peak power is when he reach his maximum RPM. Oh, at 5 seconds, right? So 147, you need this number to calculate his peak power. And if you calculate peak power divided by his body mass, 108 kilogram, that is his relative peak power, right? And percent decrement, you can calculate peak power minus lowest power divided by peak power multiply 100. That one is right. How about next one, Jack? You should be careful. Jack, try at this, right? See, please watch here. When is his peak power? Not 5 seconds. Oh, 10 seconds. That's right. Yes, 10 seconds, his maximum RPM is 122. So using this one, you can calculate his peak power, relative peak power, and percent decrementation. Doesn't make sense? So you can fill in this table. Like this, right? You can fill in this table in your reporting. So next one is result and discussion section. So science reporting, you always begin with describe the subject as characteristic. So here you can follow this template. So subject 1 is a 23-year-old male college student, 75 kilogram, who trained 3 to 5 times a week on an elliptical trainer. However, our subject 1 is, did you remember, is Diana, is right? So you can put her name or subject number 1. Subject number 1 is a 20 years old female college athlete. So who trained for or who is powerlifter, right? Like that kind of approaching. And in the Wingate power test, this subject had a peak power output of, did you remember? 748 point watt is right. And this case her, right? Her relative power was, did you remember? I think it's like 10.7, right? 10.7 watt per kilogram. And the percent decrement for subject number 1 was, I think you already calculated it right. But however, how about let's see, I think it's a 72.1%. Yeah, but you should check, right? So yeah, that one. But you have a 3 subjects, right? So you should mention, you should describe 3 subjects. And number 2, based on the result of their test, for each subject discuss whether the subject appear to have more anaerobic or aerobic physiological characteristic. So how can you decide? Using the percent decrement for subject. For example, our subject 1 is Diana. I think 72.1% is right. How about let's see. She's anaerobic athlete or she's aerobic athlete based on percent decrement. So note, anaerobic athlete percent decrement is 36 to 47% or higher, and while aerobic athlete percent decrement is 26 to 35%. And did you remember is Diana's 72.1% is right. So she's really an aerobic athlete based on the percent decrement. So right now you understand, oh, why we need to calculate percent decrement. So does it make sense? So you need this one to all our 3 subjects like Scott and Jack also. And 3, number 3 is a discuss factor, right? So this factor is kind of subjective to you. So I would like read, discuss factor that may affect the performance of this test. So this like all out exercise, all out test, right? All out exercise test, there are some factor to affect it, right? So for example, like this. If we test this one in the morning, but if you ate its breakfast a lot, do you think it really work? No, it doesn't work. It's right. Maybe you throw up, right? So it's not good idea. So like that kind of factor. So really good warming up is right. Maybe room area and temperature, right? And motivation is important. Did you remember during the video, all of the students, including me, we just motivate, we increase the subject. Did you remember, right? So like, and or like training status also, right? So that kind of thing. It's kind of subjective. So please use at least 5 sentences in your own word. Yes, yeah, you need using complete sentence. And number 4 is a little bit challenge for you to answer. High score on the Wingate test. What is the score Wingate test? Like peak power, absolute peak power, absolute relative power. And using the our data sheet, you can calculate average or mean power also to is right. Yeah, and percent decrement, that kind of a thing. So high score on the Wingate test are meant to indicate which one. It's not really easy to answer, is right. So if you see is the next slide. High score on the Wingate test mean is greater capacity to produce lactate. Before taking this class, you heard about lactic acid as a waste product, is right? So it means, oh, it's waste product. So if we release much of lactic acid, it's not good, is right? But however, right now you know lactate is important molecule. Sometimes it's important signal to our health. So it's important. So if you have high score on the Wingate test, mean you have greater capacity to produce lactate. So this is good. And second is greater store of the Volkswagen system. Did you remember what is the most important thing of Volkswagen system? It was concentration. Did you remember? Concentration. Glycolysis, important thing is activator. But Volkswagen system is a concentration is important, is right? See, if you have high score Wingate test, it means you have greater score of the Volkswagen. Wow, this is good, is right? This is good. And third one is greater buffering capacity. As a buffering capacity means if our body release proton, we need buffers, right? So this is kind of a capacity. How to buffer our proton from ATP hydrolysis. Doesn't make sense. If you have a high score of Wingate test, it means you have greater buffering capacity. This is good, good too. And a combination of greater motivation and greater tolerance of discomfort. So many untrained people, they cannot tolerate high intensity exercise. Yeah, they do not like it, right? It's painful. Oh, I won't stop. However, if someone has high score Wingate test, it is kind of a combination of greater motivation as well as greater tolerance of discomfort. So this kind of like high tolerance person, even they can throw up during this Wingate test. So it doesn't make sense. Yeah, doesn't make. If we have face-to-face class, if we come to our human purpose lab, we have a big basket, big trash can, right? Trash can, right? So just in case someone throw up, right? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Yeah. So this is kind of like a high score on the Wingate test mean like this kind of thing. So please using your own word to write this one as an answer. Right? Or if you have any idea, you can write down. But this is a really important thing if someone has a high score on the Wingate test. So for example, like Volkswagen system, for example, like Diana. So Diana want to increase Volkswagen energy system. She need this kind of exercise, see this kind of test, right? Wingate test and Wingate test training can increase her Volkswagen score. This is a data sheet, the last page of your lab 1 instruction. But you know, this data sheet, using this data sheet, your subject 1 and 2, 3, and put the RPM, calculate absolute power, relative power. You can calculate total power, add all of them, is right? You can calculate average power, just divide by body mass, is right? So if you just follow this instruction, you can calculate everything. So before to fill in your table in your discussion section, you can use this table and this data sheet and you can calculate. But actually your quiz 1 is right that you already did. So I believe this is already repeated. So I think it's much easy. I think it's not really difficult to do, right? So you can do that. So and you should include this data sheet. But you do not need to type. You can just like using the pencil. You can just put the like number and calculate. And if you do not have any scan, you can just take a picture, right? So you can include, just take a picture and you can include, right? Does it make sense? Yes, and send your draft. I said draft to Tali. Our course TA is right. Yeah, we have a course TA. So you should send draft to Tali to get feedback. And make an appointment or meet her at her office hour. How about by October 6th? October 6th, if you need help. Does it make sense? And she will check for you and maybe send email or you can meet, right? But for example, like this, oh, you forgot to put this on, and like that kind of feedback. Doesn't make sense? Yeah. After finish your draft, you complete your draft, and please convert your Word file to a PDF file and upload it to Canvas due October 11. Yeah, and another one, if you met as a Tali, you should leave a note. Dr. Gon, I have worked with Tali is lab 1. That case, I think I'm very positive to grade your one. So doesn't make sense. But you know, I just said October 6th is right, not like October 10, because Tali need the time to do, right, to give feedback to you, is right? Doesn't make sense. But I believe, based on my instruction and spent lots of time, and you already learned all the energy metabolism, so I think you can easily finish. So that case, Dr. Gon, I think I do not really need the feedback, so you do not need to meet the Tali, right? Doesn't make sense. But anyway, I recommend you had better meet Tali, is our TA. We need like a connection to his right. Yeah. So please, yeah, try to send draft to her is October 6th, so she can give some feedback to you. Doesn't make sense? Yeah. And our due is October 11th. So I think I gave enough time to do you. And another one, lab one, I posted a little bit earlier, but as you see, you should know, include mitochondrial response system, and finally you can do lab one. So during the phase, I think I had no problem, but at this time is just using what is asynchronous course is not really easy, so some a little bit delayed. Yeah, and you guys last week has a great exam, right? I think everybody did a good job, and I want to give a little bit take a time to rest. So this is why I post today. And thank you very much. Any question, please email, and please use our discussion and answer. I'm sorry, it's a question and answer discussion. Yeah, that one. So I can answer there too, right? Or you can send email to me. Thank you very much.